Hi all and welcome back to my channel of Aspie Answers. As your host, Aspie Answers. This is going to be a special episode that I'm going to be doing in regards to Autism Awareness Month and raising awareness and sharing not just my life experiences, but inviting someone special to the channel, which she agreed to. And her name is Abigail, and I would like to basically thank her for taking the time to do this, to raise awareness, because if anyone out there would love to do this with me in a way of collabing to raise awareness based on your conditions, be it autism, mental health illnesses of some sort, or ADHD, please get in contact with me via through my social medias, or more so just see if you can get involved with just messaging me elsewhere if you know who I am. So this video will quickly share one person's lived experience, as mentioned, which is the classic example right now, which is Abby. And this one is all about autism and catatonia. I want to put a disclaimer out there before we continue though. This condition, catatonia, will really differ from person to person greatly of the individuals that goes through this on a daily. If you are concerned of the symptoms that I mentioned in the video or what have you that is related to catatonia, please seek professional help and assistance as well as advice based on this so that you can hopefully get the right attention medically. So the questions I usually use for these interview kind of collabs that I've done in the past, if you've seen them or not, I'll link them in the description below of the playlist so that you can get a fair idea for the ones that are maybe interested in future videos with me, are as follows. What conditions are you diagnosed with? Briefly describe what it is in your own words of your understanding as well. Based on this condition, you've got all conditions, whichever one you decide to choose to use, if it's a variety of conditions. Number 2 is, what is it like to be living with that condition on a daily? Share your life experiences with it, how it affects you on a daily, your challenges, your weaknesses, your strengths, and what have you based on this condition, so that we can understand you more as a person. And like these next few ones are, how long have you had this condition? What are the common or clinical names for these conditions that you are living with on a day-to-day basis? The signs and symptoms to look out for with this condition. Any triggers? If so, what are they? How long are you diagnosed with the condition? Is there any treatments you use to help aid with your day-to-day living with the said condition? Any medications you may be taking on a day-to-day basis with the said condition? Is there any maybe therapies that are well worth using or what have you? What would you like someone who doesn't know about you or the said condition today to actually understand you, or just anyone? If someone you know or even yourself who has the said condition on a day-to-day living, what would you like to be giving as an advice to people out there that are maybe dating with someone with that similar condition? What is your pet peeves about the said condition? What are the misconceptions about the condition that you are living with on a day-to-day basis? And then to end this, obviously, is there anything else you would like to add or say before we close this collab? So as I said, basically, these are the type questions you'll be hearing that, or more so now and in the future, especially with Abby, who is going to be the special guest, to hear her side of what she goes through on a daily, again, as shared with catatonia. But I'll let her do it. So let's roll on the next slide.
Hi, my name is Abigail Pratt. I'm 23 and I'm from the Manawatu in New Zealand. Thank you for inviting me to speak on autistic catatonia and to spread awareness about this condition. Some of my interests are horses, and I do Special Olympics horse riding. I have one horse called Pavlova, and yeah, that's pretty much me. So the first question is, what conditions are you diagnosed with? And to briefly explain them. So I'm diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and autistic catatonia, and sensory processing disorder, as well as several learning disabilities. So autism for me affects me mostly sensory-wise and routine-wise is how I find autism most affects me, but the thing that I really suffer with is autistic catatonia, which is a neuropsychiatric condition that causes you to go frozen or paralysed and unable to move or speak. It's called a stupor, and it also includes things like posturing and becoming non-verbal and agitation. I experience the first few probably the most, but I do occasionally get the other few symptoms. So the next question is, what is it like living with this condition, and what do I struggle with on a daily basis? So for me, living with autistic catatonia, it means that I can't do things independently. So I always have to have someone with me in case I have an episode. Because when I have my episodes, I go very rigid sometimes, and I also have muscle spasms during them, and sometimes I have to use a wheelchair because of it, and sometimes I get a bit of warning before I'm about to have an episode, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes it just comes on to me all suddenly, and yeah. So the next question is, what is the common or clinical name for them? So autistic catatonia is a common name. So the next question is, how long have you had this condition? And for me, I have had this condition for about a year. The next question is signs and symptoms of them. So a sign with autistic catatonia is really interesting because it varies from other forms of catatonia. For example, catatonia and schizophrenia, or catatonia and bipolar, which is what it was most commonly associated with. It's only in newer science and research that we're finding out that autism can actually cause catatonia, but it tends to be more of a gradual decline. So for example, you might start to lose, well, I started to lose interest in things, and then I lost my ability to speak for periods of time, and then I lost my ability to move for periods of time, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. So that's kind of what it tends to do, and that's why in New Zealand a lot of professionals don't pick up on it, because they think, oh, it just looks like depression when you're showing lack of interest or more tiredness or things like that. So yeah, that's it, yeah. So the next question is, what are my triggers? So for me, some of my triggers include busy environments, overstimulation, changes in routine or plan, also some things that are included in it is things from like traumatic experiences that I might have had, or tiredness for me, fatigue, that sort of thing. The next question is, how long were you diagnosed with this condition? So for me, I have been diagnosed with it for about maybe 9 months, I would say. So the next question is, what treatments have I used? So for me, I was given lorazepam, and that worked really well. Lorazepam is a benzodiazepine, which is the first form of the main treatment for autistic catatonia, and I was on quite a high dose of it, and it worked really, really well for the first maybe 2-3 months, 4 months maybe, and then I slowly started getting worse again as my body it can build up a resistance to it, which my body unfortunately did. So at the moment I'm kind of exploring other treatment options, including some non-traditional things like midazolam to get me out of an episode. It's a nasal spray to get me out of the episode. So yeah, we're just trying to see what happens really. So the next question is, what would you say to someone who doesn't know what this condition is? So I would say that it's really important not to judge the person, or to think that they're faking it, or that they're just being silly, or those sorts of things, because it is a disorder that can look a bit odd and it's not obvious to people what it is, like say having a seizure is. So if you see someone, hopefully they have some sort of identification on them. Like I have my sunflower lanyard and instructions on what to do on my sunflower lanyard, because if I'm just frozen in public, and I mean I always do have a support worker with me, but just in case, then someone knows how to help me best. So another thing I would just like to say, what it feels like to experience catatonia. So for me, I get tingling in my limbs, and I get, sometimes, and I get kind of like this is like pre-episode, so signs I know I'm going into an episode is my speech will I'll struggle to speak, and it'll start to become a bit elongated. Another thing is I will also, I've noticed my heart rate goes up, or my, I feel really anxious. I could get an urge of anxiety. And then when I have the episode, it depends on the kind of episode I have, which for me, my episodes can last from 5 minutes to 4 hours. So it can feel like sometimes you're just locked on looking at one thing, and it's almost a bit blurry, like you're looking at it but you're not really looking at it, and like shapes and things can kind of morph into each other. And then for me, what sometimes happens, my eyes can fuse shut, so I can't see anything, and I feel nauseous, and these things are really terrifying. It's really terrifying to go through, and it is it's scary because you can't move, you can't speak, you can't communicate. Sometimes I can make a grunting noise, but that's all I can do. And the way I use to communicate when my eyes aren't fused shut is blinking. So 1 blink for yes, 2 blinks for no. But yeah, that's kind of what it feels like to have this condition. So if there's anything else I'd like to say about this condition or like to add is that I hope you found this video informative, and that if you do find this video helpful, to please reach out to your medical professional or to friends or family if you feel that this is something that you're suffering with.
Again, I would like to thank Aspie right now for joining me today with a special feature for this year of Autism Awareness Month. If you like this, smash the like. Feel free to comment below if you've been through this condition that she shared, and what are your guys' life like if you're brave enough to share your story below. And if you do comment below, don't forever gang bash anyone for that matter, because as we said, we want this part of my channel to be a safe haven for you guys, free from judgment and what have you. So without further ado, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow me on my socials, and also if you're interested in any of the merch I've been creating, all the links will be listed below, as well as some of the guides I've been building up in KDP of Amazon versus basically everywhere else that you may have seen me posting. And in saying this, if you would like to help me in any way, no pressure to donate through coffee, feel free to do so. And saying this, basically, remember this: different minds creates better connection. So until my next video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.